Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I am back with my reviews, and today I'm reviewing something that I didn't know that was really coming out this year because I don't really watch the news a lot. I didn't realize this until the trailer came out like a few weeks ago, and that is of course Hot Potatoes, the story of the Wiggles, starring the Wiggles. The incredible true story of early childhood teachers and friends, the Wiggles, who rock and rolls their way into the heads of millions around the globe in one of the greatest entertainment stories of all time. Now, I grew up with the Wiggles. So, and I mean the original Wiggles. With Greg, Murray, Jeff, and Anthony. And I am happy that the original Wiggles are doing more things nowadays, like the reunion shows, and they occasionally pop up and have like kind of, I guess you can call them cameos in the more new Wiggles stuff, which I really like. I love how they're now respecting the old Wiggles as opposed to like what they were doing for the first few years for the new Wiggles, where it was like Anthony's the only one there, but no one else is really gonna herald. Like you might have like a Stan Lee cameo thing where like I remember I think it was the first Nuvia that they did, which was taken off. Like, Jeff ran up to Anthony in, like, a random shit and then just ran away. Like, you might get a quick Stan Lee kind of Marvel thing with that, but I know later on when they did one of the Christmas DVD releases, they actually had Greg as a role teaching the new Wiggles, Go Santa Go, and that sort of stuff. So, I love how now they're using that. And I love, so I love the Wiggles. I was so excited for this documentary to come out and find out the history of the Wiggles. And I did grow up with Greg, but I remember that transition to Sam and growing up and loving Sam. So I still have a soft place in my heart for Sam. I think that he's a great, underrated Wiggle that a lot of people forget about. But I think that there's a lot of stuff I knew about the Wiggles, like behind the scenes. Like I knew about them singing, taking Cockroaches songs and adapting them to Wiggle songs, and how Jeff was the voice of Henry the Octopus, and Anthony was the original Captain Feathersword and that sort of stuff. But there's stuff I didn't know about that was in this documentary that I was like, what in the world? They actually talk about how they came up with Wake Up Jeff, and how Jeff wasn't really a teacher, and he wasn't like, he was very shy. So the Wake Up Jeff thing was just to give him to something to do on stage and make him have a role without him having to do much, really. And how there was a lot of like songs that they just pretty much just did while busking, and then would adapt things to, or rhythms to their songs. Like you might have seen this quote flying around, but the origin of Hot Potato, they were literally all the Wiggles and Anthony's brother John were busking, and I kid you not, John was a songwriter for the Cockroaches, so they would so he would come up with these songs. So there was one that was legit like hot tamale, hot tamale, do-do-do, hot tamale, hot tamale, 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 tamale. So Anthony was like, there's actually some real potential here. Let's turn this into a kid's song, but use hot potatoes instead. So that's how you got the hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, 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 potato. And how Rockabye Bear, how Greg was involved with that, had a bit of a co-writing credit on that song. How he just came up, I mean, he came up with the main crux of it, right? The main everybody clap. Everybody sing, la 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 la. And that's all he had. So Anthony was like, this is great. Can I add some more lyrics to it? And basically Anthony just basically took what Greg already had and basically just did more verses to it. And I thought that was great. And some information I knew because of some of the clips and my family, like, I was obsessed with the Wiggles, so I used to drive my family crazy, so occasionally we would have Wiggles talks, occasionally. A fact that I didn't know was that apparently Murray's wife created the original Dorothy the Dinosaur costume, which is kind of why it's so creepy. Like, the head mainly. Like, the body part's fine, it's mainly the head. Not necessarily the hat, but the way that the eyes are and the way the teeth are, and the fact that she used to have a purse that she would swing around and stuff. Like, it was like, ugh, this is tough, Wiggles. And then how Jeff made the original Henry the Octopus costume, the one with the small head, and how Jeff made the merch, like the original Dorothy the Dinosaur caps that the kids in the Wiggles would wear during Dorothy songs, and shirts and that sort of stuff, and how it was all carried around in a suitcase. Basically, it was just so cool to know. And also, here's the thing too, like, another reason why I wanted to watch this was because on the outside of the Wiggles, like what you see on stage, it's all the great kid-friendly band that everyone loves, but when they're off stage, it's a very dark place. Not that they weren't mates or anything, but they, like, Anthony had mental health during the late 90s to early 2000s, or even late 2000s, and like when they would do promos and stuff, he would be smiling, but as soon as they were called cut, he would go back to crying. And all the Wiggles would be like, what's wrong? And how his brother, Paul, would basically just be like, dude, why are you upset all the time? You're a big success. And, like, you would know if something's wrong with you, you would have known, is what he would kind of say to him. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what? And we all know about the reason why Greg had to leave the Wiggles and then pass the skivvy over to Sam in the more recent event during the Wiggles' second to last reunion, I think, where Greg fell over, or almost died. So, yeah, so we all know about that. So that's one of the things where I was like, this is actually a very personal story than just like, this is all about the Wiggles, just like, oh yeah, we're having a good time just doing music. So it's just like, this is a very dark thing. And another reason that I was not expecting to see was the 9/11 event. Like, God! Yes, the event that affected the world pretty much. And the fact that America wanted the Wiggles to still come and do a concert, and that this family talked to the Wiggles after the show about the 9/11 event and was crying and hugging them and that sort of stuff, is emotional, and you're like, what? And some of the footage, some of the sad bits, not necessarily the 9/11, but there was a whole thing that they talk about this kid that was almost dying that saw a Wiggles show, and I saw that clip because I had a documentary that I still have actually, that I might review that at some point too, called On the Road with the Wiggles, which is a Sam documentary with Sam, and how that one goes into more like their past lives and their families and that sort of stuff, and also but there was a whole segment on just that kid just going like, look, this kid's going to die soon. So they actually brought him and his father up into the big red car and did the whole toot toot chugga chugga big red car thing live on stage with him. And like, we didn't get that bit, but we did see a decent amount that you would get in that on the road with the Wiggles documentary that I love. Right? So, and it's just crazy hearing all the stories. And now, okay, so we need to talk about something that I kind of feel like was going to end poorly or badly. And this is, of course, the Sam thing. Now, I grew up with Sam. I grew up with Greg Moore, but I remember the transition from Greg to Sam, and I was like, what? And I guess at that point, I knew what sickness was, but I didn't know what the whole thing Greg was talking about, because I did see that video when it came out. And I was like, so Greg's not part of the Wiggles anymore? I guess it didn't click. Where it was like, I knew that he was gone, but it didn't really click, because it was like, his last show was early in the US, and there's even points where, like, I don't think at that one, but there are times where you see Sam and Greg transitioning in and out, and it's just bonkers. So, yeah, I knew that this thing was going to end poorly. But so, I watched it. Well, actually, first I need to mention, I saw an interview with Sam, right? And he was like, I'm going to let the audience decide for themselves, but for me, I don't feel like that's portrayed well in the film of how I'm out. And I was like, right. Something's up. So, I watched it and I'm like, okay, at first it's going good. At first it's talking about the whole thing of, like, the transition from Greg to Sam and how he's filled in for him before and that sort of stuff. And I'm just like, okay. And then, and then when it got to the end part where it was like, yeah, that wasn't really a great thing. And it goes for like 10 seconds. He says like 3 other things, and it's like, oh, Sam was right. This was very poorly executed with this bit. That's very strange. So I was like, what? But no, so I thought that was weird. Like, give Sam a chance to explain. Don't just cut his things out. Like, that's more of an interesting story than knowing about bloody Emma getting cracked on by fans because she's a girl. Because we have that whole, because we have that controversy nowadays with every movie or TV series. Like, we don't need to hear that. So that's what, honestly, that's what I was kind of like, oh, what the hell? And now, when it got to the whole thing with the new Wiggles, like Emma, Lockie, Simon, so I was still a Wiggle fan when this happened too. This was around 2012. This is when I was meant to be fading out of the Wiggles, but I was still kind of in that zone of loving the Wiggles. So, when Mum was like, oh, Jack, come here, and she read this to me, and I saw the 3 images of Emma, Lockie, and Simon, I was like, no way. So it's like, they basically fired Sam to bring Greg back, and then Greg's gonna leave with Murray and Jeff at the end of the year. That was pretty poor. And it's like, you either do that, or Greg continues on with Anthony, because that's how you get old fans to stick on board. Like, you get a female Wiggle to be either red or the purple Wiggle. Probably the red one if you want, because I actually don't mind Lockie as the purple Wiggle. But it's one of the things where you're like, what? And so when, and it even came to a point where I would even go like, because my cousin was a huge Wiggles fan growing up, right? So much so they how that kind of phase now, and he's given all of his old Wiggles DVDs to me, which is bonkers. But so I remember watching one with him, and I'm like, this is good, but this is kind of like, eh. At some point I'll do a video why I think the OGs are better, but there were some songs in there that were kind of catchy, but I was like, but there are times where I would be like, no, we're not watching that. It's not that I didn't want to watch one. I'd prefer watching one of the original ones. Because, like, one, I was getting too old for them at that point. And two, I preferred the OGs and the way that the thing with Sam was handled. And also the way that the thing with the new Wiggles were handled. I was like, no, this is not how you do it. So, as a whole, my rating for Hot Potatoes, the story of the Wiggles, I think I honestly need to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think part of this is because I'm still have a soft spot in my heart for the Wiggles. I mean, clearly, and it's one of my guilty pleasures. But also, I think it's also because it's a great documentary, and I think a lot of people will find this interesting. But stay tuned. I will be doing top 10 facts top 10 facts from the documentary that I've learned. Some of them I did say, but they will be in that video. I will do a top 10 Wiggles songs video, a ranking of all the Wiggles videos that I've watched recently, including this documentary in that ranking. So stay tuned for that. So a lot more Wiggles stuff coming down the pipe for you guys. So guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Hit subscribe, also hit the little bell icon to get notified of future videos that I make. So I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Keep wiggling.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.